Okay, welcome, one and all. Let me adjust this. Get the camera angle right so you can see my pretty face as well as all my stuff, right? All the cool things I got. Happy Monday, everyone. How was your weekend? Did you guys see Joker 2? I didn't see it. I wanted to. I just haven't had time to go out and see a movie. Look, no, that's a lie. I'm lying to you. I apologize. I could have gone and saw the movie, but I got sucked into other things. Reading, listening to some books, Audible books and stuff. I've been trying those again, especially at night to help me sleep. Oh, can you guys not hear me? Hello? Hello? Volume is low as hell. Hold on. Give me a second. Is that a problem everyone's having or just this dude? Okay, I'm going to keep talking. You tell me when it's okay. Tell me when it's fine. Better now? Okay. Hopefully that's okay. Okay, well, yeah. We have a lot to go over today. First and foremost, if you're in Florida, if you are watching this and you are in Florida, stay safe. Hurricane Milton, okay? Silly name, serious storm. It's turned into a Category 5, and it's headed for Tampa. It's headed for the Gulf Coast. Florida's Gulf Coast, to be clear. Yeah. Make sure that if you have been ordered to evacuate, that you do so. Don't play games with these things, okay? They're serious business. I lived in Florida for a good portion of my youth and for my younger adult years. I've been through a few. You can go weeks without power in some instances. Have a plan. Again, if you can leave, or at least get further inland. If you are staying, make sure that you have, again, food, supplies, water to last for a couple weeks. As we've seen recently, these things can take a toll. So again, if you're watching this and you're in Florida, in the affected areas or the potentially affected areas, be safe, okay? I don't want to lose any of my viewers. I don't have enough to sacrifice you to the storm gods, okay? Not yet. Soon, one day. One day I'll have enough that I don't have to care and I could just throw you all into the storm. But that day is not today. Cowboy subs. Hi. What's up? Obi-Wan Kenobi, nice to see you. Who else do I have in my little flock here? Who else is with us? Manny to the max, always nice to see you. Silverhand, hello. Mantis, all good. Tachyon Blow, you're coming through me. Yeah, hi. Weld QC John says, sorry, Wick, but Kamala putting out a statement saying more relief is going to Lebanon while we have people here needing help. Just lost my vote for her. Well, that is indispensable when our people need it. I think we are the richest country on earth. We can do both. We can help not only our own people, but those in other areas that need help as well. I think that it's this false dichotomy when you think that because we give aid to foreign disasters that we don't have the money for ourselves. That's just not how this works. Yeah, it's just it's one of those things where I think we can do both, and I think that the aid we give to either area is just different. And it would be nice. It would be nice if FEMA was better funded. Yes. I wonder who has voted for more funding versus less funding for FEMA. I wonder who could it be, right? We should look. we should check to see who all voted against raising funding for FEMA. Well, I think it would be very insightful, to say the least. But isn't it interesting? And I just want to point this out, right? Sorry, I'm going to use you as an example for a minute. Isn't it interesting how when we have a disaster, right, looming, so not only the disaster that just occurred, right, and this actually plays into the October 7th perfectly, as well, the reflections on October 7th perfectly as well. It fits a mold, if you will, a pattern. The first thing we do is we play politics with it, right? The first thing we do is we try to cast blame, and we have to figure out a way to blame the other side for doing the bad thing, right? For not making things as good as they could have been, right? So again, the storm hasn't even hit yet with people playing politics with this. The first thing that we should do, and look, we're all guilty. Both sides are guilty of this. This isn't something where I'm casting aspersions only one side here, right? Both sides will do this. They'll take a disaster, an emergency, and they'll think, how can I use this to my political advantage? And before you guys, because I know this drill, I know I've done this before. We've had this song and dance. Before I get accused of being a both sideser, yes, I think Democrats are generally better at this. By better, I mean they are more willing to help the people in need. But again, we should not be talking about who's better at this, Democrats or Republicans, while the disaster is looming. What we should be discussing, how can we get help to those who need it? So, for example, if you were in Florida right now, as I said at the beginning of my podcast here, if you were in Florida, make sure that you got stocks, right? Make sure that if you're in the path of the hurricane, if you can leave, right? If you can. If you've been ordered to evacuate, follow those orders. If after this, right, or if you've been affected by some of the earlier hurricanes in this season and you need relief and help, and if you guys have ways or charities to go, today I went through my closet. Okay. You know what? No, I'll share it because I think it's important. So today, my neighbors, right, are doing this charity drive thing for North Carolina, and they're sending like clothing and stuff up there. So I went through my closet to look for something that I could give, like a hoodie or a coat or a jacket or something, right? And I didn't have much. I'm not a very rich man, right? But I gave what I could. I gave what I could. Um, and I hope that the people who are suffering right now get the relief that they need, right? Because it's one thing to, and I think there is a discussion to be had about which style of governance is better at responding to disasters, right? It's a good conversation to have, and it should be had, and we can talk about that. But that shouldn't be our focus, at least right now, because regardless of who wins that argument, no, that's not going to help the people that are going to be hit on Wednesday. I think this thing is making landfall on Wednesday. It's not going to help you, right? Like us arguing, whether it be Republicans or Democrats who win that battle, that's not going to help you, right? How many dresses did I donate? I don't have dresses. I didn't donate any dresses. Frozen Knight, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say here? I don't understand it. I called my mom today because she's in Florida. Luckily, she's not in the path, right? She's not in the direct path. She's on the other side of the state. But she's an old hand at hurricanes. Okay, she's been through more than I can count on two hands. Uh, she's always been fine. She knows what to do. She's good and she's golden. But she knows if she needs a place, right? I'll find her somewhere. Okay. Um, I can't promise that to all my viewers. Like I don't have rooms to give away, unfortunately. But again, if you're watching me and you're in Florida, I just hope consider this if you haven't been watching the news, I don't know why, right? And instead of watching this, it's a serious storm. It's category 5. Those things are fucking huge. 175-mile-per-hour winds. You ain't gonna it's gonna be a bad day, okay? Seriously, it's life-threatening. It's life-threatening. If you think, like, I've known people like this, okay? I've known people like this who think, no, I'm too tough. I'm too strong. I could just ride it out. You know, I could just go there and it won't hurt me. I'm invincible. I'll just ride it out. I'll board up the windows and I'll be good. No, you fucking won't. Get out of there. It's going to destroy a lot of shit, and it's unpredictable. It can switch courses. It spawns tornadoes, and tornadoes, you ain't gonna just ride a tornado out. You'll fucking end up in Oz, motherfucker, right? Don't try to tough this shit out. Don't do it. Listen to the evacuation warnings, okay? Black Metal follower 666 official. Hey, have you checked out WR Mongrels yet? I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is at all. Oh, what are we talking about here? Chat, what are you doing? Void Politics says 6 million is good, but negligent on the national scale. For example, FEMA operates at the scale 600 million. Yes. It's hard to know exactly what is needed on the ground as someone who isn't in Florida anymore, haven't been for a while. I cannot tell you the logistics, but I have seen footage of currently the highways in Florida back to back, okay? The highways are clogged. People are listening, thankfully. And they're trying to get out. Nonfon says, do you think a full-blown Israel-Iran war is going to happen? I mean, maybe eventually, but not soon. I don't think that's coming soon. But, oh, you were commenting, on someone else? Okay, fair enough. Chat's chatting with chat, which is fine. We like to see that. We like to go through that. Do you guys want to? Okay, I'm struggling on this. Okay, on how to begin this topic because it's a deep topic and it's a personal topic for me, and it's an important topic. So I've been putting it off by talking about this hurricane stuff. The hurricane stuff's important, but I'm kicking the can down the road a little bit because I'm not sure exactly. Because I've been thinking about this all day. I've been thinking about because I wanted to do something for October 7th. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to try to make it a debate panel. I didn't think that was appropriate. I didn't want to take too many callers about this because while some people October 7th broke a lot of brains, okay? And people who are in every other subject pretty reasonable, for whatever reason, can't be reasonable on this. And I didn't want to I'd be like, the risk of it turning into a debate if I took call-ins, too much. And I didn't want that to be the vibe today. Okay, we got debates coming up this week, don't worry. Right? So if you're here for debate stuff, it's coming. But I wanted I still wanted to give my thoughts on this because it's something that has changed my perspective in a lot of ways. Not so much on the region, right? Look, Israel and Palestine stuff has been going on for years and years and years and years and years, longer than I've been alive, okay? It's something that I've been aware of, educated on to varying degrees long before October 7th happened. But it did shock me in a real way. The response that people had October 7th shocked me. Drowslayer QC says a lot of masks fell off. Yes. I always knew, right? It wasn't any surprise that Hamas wanted to kill Israelis and that the IDF was going to oppress Palestine or whatever, right? None of those things shocked me, right? But what has shocked me, was people who I considered political allies. In some cases, I considered to be friendly, right? I was friendly with, if not friends. And I thought they had this. I may not have agreed with them on every issue, and odds are I didn't. There's a few issues I disagreed. But I always thought they had a moral center, okay? They had a core of being that was empathetic and human in nature. We just came to different conclusions on different topics and things like that. To be understood, that happens, right? I get it. But what October 7th did was it exposed a lot of anti-Semitism that we had ignored. I don't want to even say covered up because I don't think anyone was purposely covering this up. I don't think this was being hidden somewhere, right? But we just didn't see it. There was no opportunity to really look at it, okay? It didn't come out. But on that day and the responses to it, you really did see a lot of people just the dehumanization of groups of people in that region and how easy it was. And I'm not just talking the Hamas supporters here. Those are easy targets, right? Those are people we can all agree on. We're like, okay, wow, you're pretty fucking weird. You're pretty fucking. I don't know if I'd use evil, but it's close, right? If you are cheering on October 8th, what happened in Israel, I don't know a different word, honestly. Which is, it's funny because I just made a post earlier today about how we shouldn't be calling our political opponents evil, things like that. They aren't evil to the majority extent. But like this is one of those things where like if you were watching people die, okay, which is what happened, right? I was one of the first in this sphere to know what was happening on October 7th because I was up late that night, okay, on October 6th, I believe, or maybe October 8th. I'm not sure how the time zone works here. But regardless, I was up really late and I was just scrolling on Twitter. And all of a sudden, my feed, which was normally memes and political takes and stuff like that, I saw people being beheaded. I saw people being shot, being chased through the streets with guns. I saw people breaking into other people's homes, holding families hostage, I should say, killing men, women, and children with guns and knives and grenades. And that flooded my feed. It was horrific. It was horrific. I don't know another word for it, right? I saw these again and again and again, and I was shocked, right? Like, oh my God, how'd this happen, right? Like, what's going on? Now, I thought at the time this was going to be universally condemned, okay? Everyone, left, right, and center, was going to come out and say, this is not how we how we do these things. This is not okay. Solidarity. Let's get some aid and help to the people who need it, right? The people who've been victims, etc. That's what I figured would happen. That's not what happened. Spoiler alert. Okay. I debated whether to show you guys tweets from this day, right? I collected a few. I debated whether or not to go through them with you. But we all remember a few of them, right? The what did you think resistance looked like? Vibes, papers, essays, that kind of thing. Mia Khalifa, famously, talking about how she wanted the resistance fighters to flip their phone so she could watch better. And let me remind you what she wanted to watch. She wanted to watch people being chased through the streets and shot, people being beheaded, people being kidnapped, people being killed with grenades, knives, guns, people being dragged out of their cars, kicking and screaming, and taken away. Yeah, there was baby settler takes. Again, this is in the immediate aftermath. I'm not talking like the bodies weren't cold, and there were people saying how Israel deserved it, that these people deserved it, and even worse, there were people celebrating it. And you may think, oh, those people were just crazies, right? But shockingly, there was a second tier to this. It wasn't as bad, right? Because there are levels, but I still consider it bad, right? It's the people who ran cover for those people, or who excused it, or who said we shouldn't really focus on those people right now because Israel's the real problem. Israel's doing it too. And those people who are celebrating, yeah, they're crazy and stuff, but don't look that way, right? Just don't look at it, right? Don't look. The people ripping baby posters, right? They're not necessarily anti-Semitic. And I had people, right? I had people in my my community. Thankfully they're not in my community anymore. They're not. The trash took itself out. Thank God. Okay. Who argued like the people who were ripping the baby posters off, it wasn't a big deal. Again, the people who've been kidnapped and killed by Hamas, right? It wasn't a really big deal. The media the posters were just a media campaign, so it really didn't matter. The dehumanization, it really put into perspective just how much people don't consider Jewish people human. Straight up. I always kind of knew it intellectually, right? Like, okay, there are Nazis out there, right? And I thought they were a very fringe people, right? Oh, there's anti-Semites out there, of course, but I thought they were like super fringe and mostly on the right. That's what I thought in my head. Okay. I knew there were people who didn't like Israel, and fair. Israel isn't likable and does some fucked up shit, okay? That's okay. Yeah, I'm anti-Israel. I get you. But again, as I think it was Drouslayer QC said, a lot of masks slipped that day. And it became the willingness to justify horror or to run cover for those justifying horror. I don't understand. I legitimately, it's hard for me to grasp. Again, it wasn't just one side. There's a certain group who thought that in response we should just glass Gaza. That was horrific too. Or that anything is justified in response to this. Again, horrific. We don't run cover for that. We don't try to shove that under the rug. We look at it and we deal with it because it's a horror. It's dehumanizing. $5 from Joe the Mig. Dying of stomach flu here. But to provide a few shekels for the cause. Love your clarity, Wick. Thank you, Joe the Mig. Really appreciate it. You have large thought leaders. And we're not just talking a few thousand. We're talking a few million. And you're right when that is a minority. It is a fringe. But we have to deal with the fact that there were a few million people who are on the left who think that this was okay. That this kind of behavior was tolerable, that it was okay to do. And I just wanted to read some thoughts today, okay? I wanted to read some thoughts from not just a Jewish person, but a Palestinian person as well. And kind of reflect on how it's affected the region. Can I get ones in chat? Ones in chat if you think that October 7th has overall changed the stream, the region for the better. Like, the argument to steelman it would be this, right? That it exposed the oppression that was occurring there. It drawed eyes to it. It brought attention to the region and attention to some of the horrific practices that were going on there. And this could be applied to either side, right? You could have someone who is pro-Israel saying that actually October 7th put into light how evil Hamas was, and now people can understand and really see and grasp the evil that was there before, and it's brought moral clarity. That would be the steelman of the argument. I don't believe that, to be clear, but that would be the steelman of the argument. INMT30 says the left really shifted in a weird direction after that day. It created a fault line, right? It created a real fault line. And I think it has, like, I wouldn't say it's changed the region for the better. I would, and I don't know, even know if I'd say it. This is a possible take. I'm not going to die on this hill, okay? But I think that in the long run, that it's going to make the left much more separate, like the far left, much more separate from the reasonable left. It created a fault line, a fissure to kind of remove and help us remove some of the, I'll just say it, the anti-Semites within our midst, okay? The people who had been harboring a hatred for the Zionists, quote unquote, right? It really helped us kind of figure out who those people were so we could act accordingly and not associate with them or call them out on their bullshit. Whereas before, they had been in our communities, they had been at the table, they had been helping to make decisions, and they still are in places of influence and power. Look at the state of some of the universities. Now, thankfully, a lot of the universities have kind of really changed their stance on this, right? A lot of the universities got a lot of flack for what they let fly, okay? What they did after the aftermath of October 7th, where you had student groups and other things putting out statements, right? 30 I'm not sure if it was 30 student and professors in Harvard, or if it was like a single student group of 30 influential people, but the Harvard, right, had an issue with this. Do you guys remember where they put out a statement blaming I think they put it out on like October 11th, blaming October 7th, all of it on Israel and Israel's practices and things like that. Firechild says, isn't that the same argument about why Trump presidency was a good thing? Like I said, I'm not going to die on this hill, right? I very much could be wrong. $2 from Manny to the Max says, Wick, that's not a solution to the problem, Wick. Kerrigan says, I think it exposed a lot of problems developing under the surface in the USA. Exposed a lot of hypocrisy, exposed a lot of bad actors. Yes. It was a... And then, why is my phone going off? Hold on. Give me 1 second, please. Yeah, it was a wake-up call. And it really kind of brought to the surface a lot of the things that were boiling underneath. We all thought we were on the same page, but we really weren't on some basic stuff. On some very basic stuff. Some core fundamental belief systems that I held, that I thought the people around me also held. That human life was precious, whether they be Palestinian, Israel, Zionist, non-Zionist, anti-Israel, doesn't matter. It also exposed the willingness of people to just straight up swallow bullshit, right? The propaganda machines, okay? That just churned and churned and churned. Churned and churned out bullshit. And people ate it up. Like they were starving. Okay? The willingness to just swallow anything that agrees with you politically is a problem. And it's a problem we're seeing exacerbated in the Israel and Palestine thing. But let's read. That's enough of my words, okay? But let's read a little bit about what Palestinian or a Palestinian, I won't pretend he speaks for all of them, has to say about the thing. In conclusion, for my section of this, right, at least for now, October 7th has been a disaster. Disaster for peace and stability in the region. It's been a disaster for the Palestinian people. It's been a disaster for Israel. It's been a disaster for the region as a whole. It's made things worse on every metric that you can think of. Every metric. People are less safe. People are less secure. Tensions are at an all-time high. Well, I won't say all-time high, right? You had the 6-day war and all that, right? But for a modern high, let's say that. Well, I can't even say that because you had the second intifada where people were being, look, okay, it's high. Let's just go with that. It's just a problem. And I don't know. I've lost friends over this because I don't know how I can take them seriously anymore. Because I know what they did and what they said. And more importantly, sometimes what they didn't say. What they didn't condemn on October 7th. And that's not something I can forget, right? If you sit there and you are arguing that it wasn't a big deal, that people were ripping up pictures of babies who had been taken hostage by Hamas, that you think, oh, that's not a big deal. You just kind of shrugged it off. I don't know. I don't know if I can, work with you anymore, let alone be friendly. I just don't know. I don't know how you could do that. Wolf Glenn says, Wick, so Israel had nothing to do with 10/7/23? What do you think they had? What do you think they had to do with it? Thank you for the gift subs, that's why. Really appreciate you. Again, Israel isn't the good guys. They're not good guys. They do bad things. They're oppressive. All the fucking time. But that is no excuse for people to go and fucking kill men, women, and children. 1,000 of them. Over 1,000 of them. In horrific ways. Take over 240 people hostage. And if right after that you were saying things like, well, Israel was kind of at fault here. That's like saying, well, did you see what she was wearing? Of course, right? I heard she said some shit about that guy, okay? Did you see what she was kind of asking for it. She was kind of looking for it wearing that short skirt. Oh, Kerrigan, thank you. Thank you for the gift subs. Kerrigan says it's terrible to find out just how blind the people you thought you were a part of are. No? Well, it's not them being blind that even worse than that is realizing that maybe I've been blind. Maybe I've been blind. What else am I? If I missed this, what else have I missed? Right? If I missed this about these people, right? If I wasn't able to catch this, what else have I not caught? Twitch politics newbie, nice to see you. That's a big fucking deal to me, right? It made me doubt my judgment in a way I had not doubted it before. It was a reminder, okay, of how wrong I could be on these things. How wrong I could be about different people. Beer water. Hi, Wick. Hi, you. Hi, Beer. Nice to see you. Drouslayer QC says we need a pathway to peace and justice when those conflicts end. Yes. Zero Fuck says that's the tricky part with the conflict. A sympathetic case can be made for either side broadly. Neither side are sinners nor saints, yet different people do the calculus differently. I mean, yes. Palestinians are victims in a lot of ways. Hamas is not. Hamas is a different beast. So yes, I agree with you. A sympathetic case can be made for the Palestinian people, and I do have a lot of sympathy. They've been dealt a bad hand. They've been oppressed by not just Zionists, but Hamas, right? They're getting it from all sides. They have no one. Look, okay, I know I said I was gonna read something, right? And we'll get to that, right? But the Palestinian people, I'm not talking the Hamas or the other organizations they got there, right? But the people themselves, they got no one. And their advocates, quote unquote, here in the West have been horrific advocates for them. Hassan, that crowd, right? The people cheering them on, the people being like, yeah, just continue to resist, continue to get yourself fucking killed because it fits with our ideology, and every body, every Palestinian body is an aid to our anti-Israel cause, right? Those people are not Palestinians' friends. They're not out for the best result for Palestinians, right? They're not. It's easy to call for resistance, quote unquote, whatever that means, right? It's easy to call for resistance, sipping your fucking latte at your college campus on the computer, right? You ain't going to suffer the consequences for your resistance. You ain't going to suffer what happens. And again, what did you expect to happen? What country would not respond to some extent violently to an incident like this? That's why he says they are very generous with other people's lives. Yes. Yes, they are. It's something that we see all the time. And it's heartbreaking. Okay, enough. I'm going to read it, or else I'll never get to it. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, that's not it. Ah, here we are. This was written today. Okay, it's a pretty short read. And thank you. Thank you for the gift subs. 15 subs. Who else gave me subs? Kiergan gave me 5 subs. Oh no, Kiergan gave me 10 subs. Hell yeah. Thank you. Zetsoy gave me 5. Okay. Thank you. Really appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. But let's read. This is from John Aziz. Okay, he's a Palestinian. Let's read his article that he released today. I read it. I thought it was fairly good, and it's an interesting peaceful perspective that I think we need to get into, and I think we need to hear more of. So I'll read it and with you guys, and we'll talk about it. Okay. Avoid politics. You don't like how easily I separate Palestinians from October 7th? A lot of look, Hamas's first victims have been the Palestinian people. Everything they've done, they did en masse at October 7th. They practiced first on their own people. The rape, the killing, the murder, the torture. They've done it to Palestinians. Any Palestinian who didn't get in line, they threw them from rooftops. Okay? They literally cooed their government and threw them, anyone who opposed them, from a roof. Who enabled Hamas if not Palestinians? What? That's not enabling. If you... What are we talking about here? You are not enabling an oppressor by not wanting to speak up, because if you do, you're going to get thrown off a fucking roof. That's... Okay, now I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it. You guys are getting me all worked up. Okay. Let me adjust this here. So it's a little more readable for you guys. Okay, you can read along with me. Sad memory from the evening of 6 October 2023 is stuck in the back of my mind and often trickles back into the forefront of my thoughts when I think about the ongoing spasms of war between Israel and Hamas and the resulting death and destruction in Gaza. I was scrolling through my Facebook feed when I saw some photos uploaded by Jewish friends celebrating Sukkot. I'm going to mispronounce all these names, by the way. A holiday commemorating the biblical story of the Israelites' 40-year journey through the desert after their exodus from enslavement in Egypt, led by Moses. The pictures showed the temporary outdoor structure called a sukkah that a friend had erected in his back garden. These structures, with roofs created from natural materials like branches or leaves, are built on Sukkot to represent the fragile dwellings the Israelites lived in during their journey. During the week-long festival, families and friends gather in these sukkahs to eat, socialize, and reflect on their religion and their lives. At the time, I was just a Palestinian British student who had gained a few Jewish friends by participating in small-scale peace groups. I wanted to learn about the other side's narratives and history, because I believed then, just as I believe now, that neither Palestinians nor Israelis are going anywhere. So we have to live in peace together, and that the process of peacemaking starts with being able to listen to each other and understand each other's lives and troubles. I want to put a pin in that, right? Because I think this is something we're losing, right? This ability to really understand the other people, the other side of things. We'll talk about it a little more soon, but I made a tweet today. I thought it was pretty anodyne, but it made people pretty upset. There was a Joe Walsh. He's been on my show, former congressman. He made a poll asking if we think that the other side politically is evil. I don't think Republicans are evil. I don't think either side has a monopoly on good or bad, right? I'm a Democrat, and I tend to think that the Democrat ideas are better, more helpful, more useful for people. I think that they'll make the world a better place, and I think a lot of the Republican policies are bad. I think a lot of them are harmful, in fact. But Republicans in general, a vast majority of them are just good people. They just disagree with me, right? They disagree on the facts. They disagree on what they think will work. But simply saying that, I get so many accusations that I'm both sizing it, right? And you have you have people trying to prove me wrong by showing how evil they are, right? And saying, well, I think all Republicans are stupid and retarded, and I think that they're all evil and soulless and husks. And you're like, shit, damn, calm down, have a Snickers. But this is something people really believe. Now, you take that state and you amplify it. You turn the knob up by 1,000 when you come to Israel and Palestine conflict, okay? So that Republican-Democrat divide, amp it up. Add some zeros, then multiply it, right? That's how bad it is. So kudos to this man for trying to listen to the other side. We need more of that. Let's keep going. I'm just one person, but I wanted to do everything that I could to help build this process of mutual understanding and intercommunal cooperation. As I learned more about the long and interwoven history of the conflict between Zionism and Palestinian Arab Islamic nationalism, I realized that it is important to take responsibility for trying to improve things and attempting to coexist peaceably instead of casting all the blame on the other side. Man, this guy's smart. This guy's wise. Okay? Peace is just the first step, of course. I dreamed of a Palestine that would be not only at peace, but a glimmering jewel of prosperity and economic development, like a Singapore on the Mediterranean. Palestine sits on a land bridge between Europe, Asia, and Africa, which makes it a prime location for infrastructure and prosperity. Its population, in spite of the ongoing conflict, is highly educated. Being located next door to the Israeli high-tech hub should be an economic blessing in terms of trade, education, and development, not a curse. That was how I felt on October 6th. Then the next day, Hamas carried out an anti-Jewish pogrom in which over 1,200 Israelis were killed, some were raped, and over 200 were kidnapped and taken to Gaza, where at least 100 remain in captivity to this day. My peaceful dream seemed to have been shattered into 1 trillion pieces on the floor like a glass ornament dropped from a skyscraper. Peace, it seemed, might now be delayed for decades or even generations. Hamas deliberately chose terror, throwing everybody, both Palestinian and Israeli, into chaos. Yes, Palestinians have suffered decades of disenfranchisement, displacement, blockade, and military occupation. Those things have caused a heavy collective trauma. But this attack immediately made everything very much worse. It put innocent Palestinians in extreme danger of being injured or killed in the inevitable subsequent war. Indeed, while Ukrainian and Syrian civilians were able to leave Ukraine and Syria, there has been no mass evacuations of Gazans from Gaza, as neither Egypt nor Jordan would countenance the idea, arguing, whether sincerely or not, that Israel might not allow these refugees to return after the war. Instead, Gazans have been shuffled about throughout the Strip, often on foot, in the cold winter rain and the baking summer heat. The majority of Gazans today now live in tents in the humanitarian zone. While Palestinians have many legitimate grievances, both grievances that date from before the current war and ones arising from the current war, Hamas did not start this war against Israel to resolve legitimate grievances. Instead, they started a war with the goals of conquest, domination, and terror. As Hamas official Ghazi Hamad said explicitly in November 2023, their strategy is to repeat the 7 October massacre again and again and again until a majority of Jewish Israelis pack up and leave in sheer terror. This is hold on. I want to put a pin in this too. Here, when I'm giving my thoughts, I'll go to the face cam. Okay, gang. There are legitimate grievances. There are legitimate concerns with Israel. Okay? They're not the good guys. what Hamas did, what the other groups over there, what Hezbollah and all them are doing, none of that has shit to do with any of the legitimate concerns. People try to tie these things together, right? As if they matter, as if they matter, right? They don't. Not to Israel, not to Hezbollah, not to Hamas. The legitimate grievances aren't what's being fought over, aren't what's being contested. The legitimate grievances isn't why Hamas broke in to Israel to kill 1,200 civilians. It's not why they did it. They didn't do it because of land. They didn't do it because of oppression. They didn't do it because of blockades or any other policies. Hezbollah didn't launch 8,000 plus rockets into Israel because of, disputes over territory or anything like that. No. If you think that, you're wrong. You're simply incorrect. They did it because they wanted to kill Israel. They want Israel gone. They want to wipe it off the face of the fucking map. They say so over and over and over again. They tell you, this is what we want to do. This is how we want to do it. This is what we're going to do. And then October 7th, they showed everyone they were dead serious about their words. And you have fuckers running cover, saying, well, no, there are legitimate grievances. Israel has done some bad things, and look at the oppression they've done in the blockades here and there. Yeah, cool. We can address that. We should address that. Those are all bad. But that's not why Hamas attacked. That's not why Hezbollah is attacked. That's not why Iran's funding Hezbollah and fucking around. None of that's why. In this fundamental failure by a lot of people to understand this conflict is that right there. They try to make the unreasonable reasonable. They try to make the bigoted hatred into something that could be packaged and understood. I get the drive. I get the drive to do that. Right? It's hard to really grasp hate when you don't feel it, right? When you are not the one that's filled with it, it's hard to grasp it. It's hard to understand it. But we have to. We have to understand, right, that, again, these groups hate Israel. They want Israel dead. They don't care about anything else. All this oppressive bullshit, blockades, open air prison, none of that. None of that. If all that went away today, if we snapped a finger and suddenly Israel treated Lebanon, treated Gaza, treated the West Bank with perfect equity, okay? Perfect equity. Wouldn't change a goddamn thing. Till you understand that, you don't understand the problem. It wouldn't change a goddamn thing. Hamas would still be trying to kill Jews. Hezbollah would still want to launch rockets at Israel. All of this would still be happening to varying degrees. All that other stuff's just dressing. It's just excuses. Just justifications to do what they want to do. Okay? So while you and I can have legitimate disagreements on legitimate discussions on the real issues, and they are real issues that are over there, right? There are real issues that are over there, okay? None of that's into the calculations when it comes to Hamas and Hezbollah. None of that fucking matters. So we have to understand the difference here. Cool. Let's get back to reading. In addition, Hamas intentionally want innocent Palestinian civilians to suffer and die in order to strengthen their fighters' resolve and hurt Israel's global image and relationship with the United States and Europe. Hamas's former leader Ismail Haniyeh explicitly stated that. We need, and this is a quote, we need the blood of the children, women, and elderly to ignite within us the spirit of revolution, end quote. Hamas intend to impose a theocracy in the land where Israel once existed, subjugating any remaining Jews, Christians, and Bedouins, along with the non-religious, their political opponents, and anyone else whom they don't like. Theirs is simply a vision of ethnic cleansing, a neo-medieval fantasy in the vein of the early Islamic conquests. This vision of ethnic cleansing is why Hamas propagandists so frequently obsess over pictures of long queues in Tel Aviv airport, because they see victory as Israelis leaving Israel or, quote-unquote, going back to Europe, as they like to imagine it. Never mind that a majority of Jewish Israelis are Mizrahi Jews, whose ancestors came back to Israel from the Arab world, and not Ashkenazi Jews, whose ancestors came back to Israel from Europe or America. Never mind that there's been a Jewish presence in Palestine for thousands of years, even after Rome tried to enslave and conquer the conquered Judean population, and even after the 11th century Islamic Caliph al-Hakim tried to forcefully convert everyone to Islam. Hamas and their fellow travelers portray Israelis as a bunch of white European colonialists stealing the land of indigenous brown Palestinians, just as the French did that of the Algerians. They traffic in anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, suggesting that European Jews are not related to ancient Jews, through their enslavement by the Roman Empire, but instead are the descendants of mass conversions of Khazars. For them, a busy day or two in Tel Aviv airport signifies that Israelis are running back to Poland or Ukraine or Brooklyn. But so far, their wish for an Israeli exodus has not come true. The Israeli current population is 9.387 million, up from 9.256 million last year. Israelis are not packing up and leaving, not even while Israel fights wars on multiple fronts. As for Hamas, far from achieving their hope of driving Israelis into the sea or back to Europe, they are not doing well on any front. While some of the more deranged clusters of Western leftists may defend Hamas in their massacre of 7 October, actual Palestinians living in Palestine overwhelmingly reject Hamas. According to the most recent AWRAD poll of Gazans, published on 8th of September, so just a month ago, support for Hamas has fallen to just 6%, while support for Hamas's main political rivals, Fatah, has jumped to 47%. The same poll shows that Palestinians in Gaza have shifted, and 62% of them now favor a two-state solution, an overwhelming rejection of Hamas's vision of driving the Jews away through terror. Furthermore, I just want to put a pin in that too. This is contrary to what a lot of Western leftists and Western Palestinian advocates would advocate for, right? I've talked to plenty of them who don't want a two-state solution, right? That don't want anything like that. But it looks like, at least recently, most actual Palestinians in Gaza actually favor a two-state solution. So, I thought we didn't do this thing where we kind of put our Western wishes on indigenous peoples, but what do I know? Let's keep going. Furthermore, previous polls that seem to indicate widespread support for Hamas may have been rigged. Really? According to the IDF, documents seized in Gaza show the Hamas were manipulating the results of polls to boost their support and support for 7th October. For instance, a PCPSR poll from March 2024 found that only 30.7% of Palestinians believed that 7 October was a correct decision, while 64.4% believed it was incorrect. According to these documents, Hamas doctored the data to suggest that 71.3% of Palestinians believed that actions had been correct, while only 23% believed them to have been incorrect. In other words, Hamas has been engaged in war propaganda and speaking over the voices of a captive Palestinian population who did not, in fact, agree with Hamas's ideology or strategies, and who resent Hamas for starting a war that has destroyed their homes and put them and their families in extreme danger of being wounded or killed. So avoid politics, to answer your question, according to this report at least. There you go. Hamas chose to try to settle the conflict with Israel, on the battlefield. But Hamas has no recent military victories to boast of. They've lost thousands of fighters. Israel claims to have killed upwards of 10,000 of them, while their former leader, Ismail Haniyeh, was assassinated in Iran and replaced by Yahya Sinwar. While the war may have started with an incursion into Israel, this incursion only lasted one day, and ever since then, Israel has been on the front foot. The war has overwhelmingly taken place inside Gaza, not inside Israel. Hamas can do little but lurk in their tunnels, trying to snipe off Israeli soldiers by stealth, while hoping that their allies Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Iran might be dragged into a regional war to heap pressure onto Israel. And while a regional conflict that could drag in global powers like Russia and China would be a wild card in these war games, it is likely that the outcome would still be disastrous for Hamas. It would heap further immense suffering onto the Palestinian civilian population. Taking all of this into account, it is hard to avoid the conclusion that 7 October, far from being a victory, was the beginning of the end for Hamas and for many of its ideological allies. Well, avoid politics. The poll was for people in Gaza, so I don't know. West Bank's different. Like we can't confuse these things. Oh, here, let me switch again. Gaza and West Bank are separate entities, right? And while Hamas does run Gaza, they don't run the West Bank, and there's different issues at play in these two places. So I don't know about the West Bank, to be honest with you, in the polling there. But the polling that's being mentioned here is the ones in Gaza. Yes, void politics. The claim is that Hamas doctored those results. Whether that claim is true, I can't tell you. But, yeah. Wolf Glenn, you say this, but that's just not true, right? Wolf Glenn says, as long as Israel keeps killing children and does not kill them all, there will be new terrorists. This idea that actions, like military actions, create new terrorists isn't borne out by the data, right? This is something we've said a lot, but there's no actual data to support this. In fact, most terrorists tend to be middle class, wealthy, right? They tend to be the ones that become terrorists, right? The poor are just trying to eat. It's the people who have ideology. We know how terrorists are made, and it's through ideological brainwashing. It's not through military actions. It's not through any kind of bombings or conflicts. That's not what makes a terrorist. What makes a terrorist is ideological brainwashing, right? Ideological propaganda. That's what makes a terrorist. That's how terrorists are born and raised. Not because of an event, but a concerted propaganda push. Or having someone say that Israel wants to kill your whole family. No. Having Israel kill your whole family, especially if that family was terrorists, right, doesn't necessarily make you in. Otherwise, why are there not... Look, if that was true where you had one entity just slaughter a bunch of people and it created more terrorists, we would see a lot more terrorists in places we don't, right? Germany would have tons. But we don't. We don't see that there. Why not? What's the difference? Well, one area, you got propaganda just being pushed constantly from birth, from literal birth. That, more than any bomb, is what creates a fucking terrorist. Do we not understand this? Again, I know it's an easy thing to say and it sounds clever. It's just wrong. It's just incorrect. That an attack, some kind of attack, whether you want to call it a military attack, terrorist attack, whatever, is going to create more terrorists. Just doesn't happen. The terrorists come because you have groups being funded by nations that are saying these people are subhuman filth and you need to go kill them. Again, Israel could do nothing. Could not kill a single fucking soul. And these people would want to kill Israel and would be training people to do just that. That's how it plays out. How it plays out. Let's keep reading. Here we go. I am a Palestinian. This guy, not me. And I agree with the majority of Gazans that Hamas's decision to launch the attacks of 7th October was incorrect. And I oppose their continued rule in Gaza and anywhere else. I certainly endorse the idea of a two-state solution and self-determination for both Palestinians and Israelis. However, this dream can only be achieved through a clear process of negotiation and agreement with Israel. Just as Israelis have a responsibility to work towards peace, Palestinians will also have to work to make peace a reality. This is what Hamas could have done instead of planning and carrying out 7th October. It bothers me whenever he says, I know I'm being very American here, but I want to say October 7th every time, and his phrasing just fucks me up. Okay, anyway, continuing. Sit down across the table from the Israelis as responsible adults and start negotiating. Right now, Hamas is down, but not out. They will try to claw their way back from this using the trauma of innocent Palestinians as a recruiting tool to rebuild their military strength and win sympathy from the global left. Very successful that they're doing that to some in my chat, right? So the first step towards a post-Hamas world and a better future is to be honest with ourselves and to roundly reject the behavior of Hamas and the murders and rapes of Israelis and others on 7 October. The events of 7 October did not benefit Palestinians in any way. Driving Israelis into the sea is not a solution to any of our problems. It will not build the Palestinian economy or unlock any economic or social opportunities. Yes, anyone who has intentionally harmed civilians or committed other war crimes, whether Palestinian or Israeli, should be held legally accountable for their actions. Yes, Gaza must be rebuilt, and Palestinians from Gaza should not be ejected from this land. Ethnic cleansing is wrong, regardless of who is doing it. But while all people of good conscience should mourn every innocent soul who lost their life, their family, their home, or community as a result of the war, the destruction of Hamas will be nothing but a benefit. Hamas's end would pave the way for a brighter future for Palestinians, Israelis, and the entire world. We have to build that future, and we have to start now. What are you thinking? What are your thoughts on this? Do we agree with this? The article from John Aziz, writing for Colette. He's Palestinian, currently in Britain right now. So, here. I just want to really stress this because there's a couple of people in my chat who might disagree with me here, but I think they're wrong, and I'll tell you why. There are a lot of people who think that Palestinians are responsible for Hamas. I understand the reasoning. I get it. I think it's incorrect, though. I think that the reason you see Palestinians outside of Palestine be very critical of Hamas because it can. Hamas is a brutal regime that oppresses its own people. If you speak out against Hamas in Gaza, you're not going to have a good time. You can't. We forget in the West, right? A lot of people like to think, oh, we're being oppressed, right? Our free speech is under attack. They're censoring me. I don't think you understand the difference. And it might be annoying, and I'm against censorship, right? To be clear. But there's a much different thing from being banned on Twitter or on Twitch or whatever. That is substantively different than what would happen to you as a Palestinian being hypercritical of Hamas in Gaza. These are not the same. You're not going to face the same consequences. Okay? You're not going to face the same consequences. So no, I don't think that the people who are whose boots Hamas, or whose neck Hamas's boots are on, I don't hold them responsible for Hamas's actions. I don't think they're supporting the regime. That's not how this works, right? Hamas does not rely on its public support. It does not. It's getting all its support, well, from outside the country, outside of Gaza. It's getting its support from Qatar. It's getting support from Iran. It's getting its support from all these other actors and countries. But it's not the Palestinian people. The Palestinian people could, to a man, hate Hamas and try to overthrow it. That doesn't matter because these people Hamas is being propped up by outside agents and actors, right? Void Politics says Putin also gets all the money from outside of Russia through oil and gas, and he uses his money to oppress the people. Yes, that's why that's not why I'm a Russia-phobe. I'm not a Russia-phobe. I don't hold the Russian people responsible for Ukraine. I hold Putin responsible for Ukraine, right? Huge difference. Brighton Uday says Egyptians could travel more if they use their magic mummy powers. Is that racist? I think it is. Might be. Funny though. Concluding postscript says if Hamas had zero Palestinian support, they wouldn't have been able to come to power. Initially, perhaps, but let's review on how they came to power, gang. So they did get a plurality, not a majority, a plurality, or maybe I'm mixing those two words up, right? They won a portion of the vote, so they controlled the government, right, to an extent. But they still had political opposition in the government at the time, right? Back in the early 2000s, okay? When they had this election. 2005, something like that, 2006. The other political group opposed them, right? But they shared the government, much like Republicans and Democrats today. So about a year, maybe a few months after the election, Hamas went to that other political party and they threw them off the roof and said, no more elections, no more politics, no more anything. It's ours now. You can't stop us. They threw them off the roof. Literally. So, again, they don't need support. They got elected once, maybe because they made some false promises, right? They posted themselves as saviors, right? Because there's a lot of corruption with the previous government in Palestine, in Gaza. A lot of corruption, a lot of problems, right? And these guys had said, "We will save you. We will be your saviors." They got quite a bit of the government, and then they took the rest violently. $5 from Cameraman 502 says, "I understand that, but so is the Iranian regime. Yet I see protesters regularly making themselves heard at great cost." Well, yes. Iran is less, and this is going to be a weird thing to say, but it's true, and let me explain it. Iran is less harsh to its own people than its proxies are to their people. Because Iran, while yes, it's a brutal, oppressive regime, to be clear. Because what happened to those protesters? Do you remember? Jails, beatings, executions. They are still less repressive to the Iranian people than Hamas is to Gaza. Because to an extent, Iran can't fuck around too much, right? Because as we've seen before, there will be a revolution. You guys remember the 70s when Ayatollahs came to power, right? They remember that. So they have to put a slightly lighter hand on their own people. But the people they're paying, right, in Gaza, they can go crazy, right? Because there's not a direct connection there. There's not a they don't suffer any blowback for what Hamas does in a real way, right? Including postscript says, does Hamas have morality police that kill women for not wearing hijabs? Hamas, if you talk to an Israeli, okay? If you talk to an Israeli peace activist, Hamas will kidnap and torture you. I don't know if they'll kill you. In some cases they will. But you guys remember back in 2018, 2019, there was a reporter who basically snitched. There was a reporter who found out there were some Gazans and some Israeli peace activists who were talking, right? And trying to figure out a way to get peace. So this reporter snitched and told Hamas, basically. Told Hamas what was going on. So Hamas took those people, those Gazans, kidnapped them, tortured them, and killed a couple. I think they killed a couple. I know they tortured them, right? So, yeah, I don't know if it's the morality police exactly, but not good. It's not good at all. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not good at all. It's so frustrating. You have people who want a good outcome. And what does a good outcome look like? Look, if I were king of the world, okay, and I could snap my fingers and be obeyed, right? Yes, I want Palestinians to have their own state in Palestine. And I want Israelis to have their own state in Israel, to be able to self-determine, to elect their own representatives, to go their own ways. But that is impossible with the current governments. That is impossible to have happen with Hamas in power. It just cannot happen. It is not ever going to happen. Palestine will never be free as long as Hamas exists. And Palestine is going to be struggling to be free as long as you have people willing to run cover for the horrific atrocities. Right? And you think that this would be an ice cold take. You think that this is something like everyone would be like, yeah, no shit, Wick. You're just saying shit that everyone, like, you're saying water's wet. Okay, you're saying the sky's blue. But I've literally, because this is my take, okay, I've lost friends. I've lost allies. I've lost support. I've lost viewers. People do not watch me anymore because I have refused to chant death to Israel, right? Because I've refused to go along with this craziness that a lot of people in more left-leaning spaces have. When we talk about how October 7th fractured things, this is perhaps the most petty, least damaging thing about October 7th, but it's still something that's affected me, right, personally, is yes, it's caused people to just leave, right? To not only that, but a lot of the I'll call it what it is. A lot of the harassment I've gotten from different people, like F-bombs and things, my hypothesis is it's directly tied to my takes on Israel and Palestine. They didn't start any of this. Any trying to come after me about progressive victory stuff, any of that. None of that, right? None of that happened until after October 7th. So while I can't prove it, that's my secret suspicion, okay? That a lot of these people aren't really mad at what they say that they're mad at about me. They're still mad over my takes on Israel and Palestine. If I had different takes on Israel and Palestine, more in line with their belief systems, they would not have come after me as they did. Straight up. Again, could be wrong. That's my suspicion. That's my hypothesis. Okay? My hypothesis. Shiva Hawk says, it's crazy to call out Israel for being the disgusting genocidal people they've become. No. But if you were cheering what happened on October 7th, yeah, I'm going to call you disgusting, right? And we have to separate this. You can say, I hate Israel, Netanyahu's a monster, they're doing a genocide, and still not cheer on October 7th or justify it. You can still say, no, that was shitty. Some people can't. Some people, that's, for whatever reason, they just can't. Because again, there's plenty in my community, right? There's plenty of people in my community who are very pro-Palestine, who are very anti-Israel. But they're still in my community, and they still watch me, and they still argue with me, because they're fairly reasonable, right? They understand some basic level shit, okay? The foundational level shit. We agree on that. But I lost a lot of people because they couldn't. Because they couldn't get past what I thought was the lowest bar imaginable. Okay? The lowest bar imaginable. And they couldn't clear it. Which is one of the reasons that it shocked me, and the shock lasted. Right? The shock lasted because it wasn't something that was just a knee-jerk reaction. It's a reaction that they sustained for months. For weeks and months. Am I still alive, by the way? Can you guys still hear me? It just showed something went weird on my my OBS. You guys still hear me? Okay, the Doghouse Show. Nice to see you. Hear you well. Great. You can see me? Just on my end? What was it doing? Hold on. Give me a second. My OBS was saying it lacked memory or something, but you guys can still see and hear me? I don't know. I don't know what that's about, okay? Tech stuff is beyond me. Look. Kerrigan says, why can't you dispassionately notice the flaws on both sides and separate the responsibility for their actions to each group as they deserve it? Yes, that would be the ideal. Look, I get that people are passionate about this. I understand it. Like, I'm not talking about people who have a one-off where they say something stupid, okay? Well, depending on what they say, right? But like a one-off thing where in the heat of the moment, you say some stupid shit. That happens to the best of us. I get it, right? You get worked up. You go off. You don't want to be wrong online. That's a sin, right? And so you double down on a position, okay? That's one thing. But no, there's people who have taken it's just core to their ideology, apparently. The oppressor oppressed stuff. The oppressor oppressed stuff is like super core to them, where they legitimately believe that any action is justified against Israel, no matter how horrific, because Israel's a bad guy. So because and this is something that is a way of thinking that isn't just applicable to the Israel-Palestine stuff. It's most visible there for whatever reason, right? But this same way of thinking is poisoning us when it comes to political discourse in general. There are more people today than I think in the last 20, 30 years. Certainly my lifetime that I've been, I'm not been 10, okay, right? So in the last 30 years, there are more people today who think that the other political party, the members of the other political party in America, I'm not talking Israel, Palestine now, I'm talking America, that they are legitimately evil. They are legitimately evil. Not just the leadership, but the voters who vote for it as well. This used to be a small minority of extremists on both sides. On the Republican side, the Democrat side. The small core of hate, right? That has grown. And it's growing faster and faster and faster. And you can see it. You can see it happen. Now, I get it. I get it. I understand. Political season, right? The election's coming up. We get very passionate. But I was watching TV earlier today, right? Watching the news for the hurricane stuff, right? Because again, I got family in Florida. Every commercial, and I live in Pennsylvania, so it's a swing state. Every commercial, I shit you not, every single commercial that I saw was one of either Trump saying Kamala was going to be the last election we ever had. She's going to take all your guns. She's going to institute Sharia law. Or no, it wasn't Sharia law. They were doing this. She's going to release all the immigrants to kill you and your children, right? Like legit. They said, if you elect Kamala, one of the commercials, if you elect Kamala, she's going to release or allow murder illegal immigrants to come in and murder you and your family, right? That's the commercial. Then on the other side, right? If Trump wins, we'll be living in Nazi America. He's going to put us all in camps. He's going to send the transgenders to the death camps, right? This is more and more common. More and more common. It's always been there. I'm not naive. I wasn't born yesterday. There's always been this kind of push, right, from certain sectors. But damn, is it not more noticeable today? I saw it on TV. I don't have links to the ad on TV. Sorry. It was in Pennsylvania. And again, people don't understand. Like, ads are super targeted. So you won't. Yeah, I don't know where it is. I don't know how I'd even look it up, right? I'm very bad at this kind of thing. But like, the ad you will get in Pennsylvania is different than the ad you're going to get if you live in Georgia, right? You're going to have different ads because what these groups do is they gather data on what they think is going to be effective in this locality, and they spend millions to do this, right? And they target even from city to city. Like I'm sure that the ads that they're airing in Philadelphia are different than the ads they're airing in my neck of the woods, right? That I'm not going to see some of those ads, whereas I am going to see the ads that are specific to my area. Like, they get super targeted with this. The reason I say that is because there are going to be people like, I haven't seen that ad. Well, yeah, because you live in like fucking Colorado or something. I don't know, right? Yes, you're going to see different ads than I am. Let me see. Let me give you guys, since we're on the subject, here's a tweet I responded to. I thought it was pretty anodyne, and I'll show you my response as well. And we can read some of the responses here, okay? You guys ready for this? Okay, it was a poll someone put up. Joe Walsh put up. Let me see. Can you guys see this? Can you guys read it? A little off base here. Hold on. There, so you can see it a little better. Okay, Joe Walsh says, I've had a huge number of people recently tell me that the people they disagree with politically are evil. Really? Evil? Do you believe that your political opponents in America are evil? Or put another way, in your view, is this an election between good and evil? And he's had 7,505 votes for this, and there's 19 hours left, so it hasn't been up long. Okay. I voted no, as you can see with the check. But man, 66% of the people who are voting in this poll, not scientific to be clear, think that the other side are evil. Are evil, legitimately evil. Okay. I made a pretty anodyne tweet about this, okay? Pretty anodyne. Okay, I quote tweeted it. No, the vast majority of people on the right and the left are not evil. They're a mixture of good and bad. No party has a monopoly on it. What I mean by it is good and bad. It's a child's view of the world to think everything on your side is righteous and good, and everyone on that other side is evil and bad. Again, I thought super anodyne. Super reasonable take. Okay? Am I voting for Democrats? Yes. Do I think they're better than Republicans? Yes. Their ideas are, their policies are, what they want to happen is. But do I think my Republican compatriots are evil? Most of them, no. I think they're wrong. And I think we've gotten away from being able to separate someone who is legitimately evil, and they exist, to be clear. Like, if this question was, do I think Trump is evil? I'll give you a different answer. I do think Trump is evil. Do I think that the people voting for him are evil? No. I just don't. And Cacophonies says, I think Kamala is an evil communist. Do you think that hold on, Cacophonies, do you think that Democrats voters, the Democratic voters, are evil? Do you believe that, really? In your heart of hearts? Because a lot of people will say, why are you both siding this, right? They'll attack me from the left on this, right? There are a lot of people who are super Democrats who will say, you're equating two sides that shouldn't be equated. Republicans are evil. How dare you say that they are anything but evil, right? But then you got Republicans who do the same thing, right? Republicans will say, there's a group of Republicans who say that Democrats are evil. They're all evil. Democrats, I think they're called, etc., right? It's this extension of vilification that's continually happening, right? And it's getting worse and worse. And each side is using the other side to justify what they're doing, right? And look, Fabian Liberty, he's kind of brain dead, but says a few things there. Anyone who believes in stealing from people to fund their preferred political projects, taxes, is evil. Humans are indoctrinated in large part by an evil ideology. That doesn't mean that I think people don't wish to be good or irredeemable or ought to be treated poorly. Look, taxes are evil brainworms. Yes. Great. Doghouse Show. Oh, hey, you get a feature here. I may not say that one side is all good or all bad, but there's one side that sides with an authoritarian who attempted to overthrow our democratic processes and whose rhetoric sows division and hate. Make of that what you will, but one side is much worse than the other. Look, I already told you I'm voting Democrat. I do think one side is worse than the other, but that should not mean that. Let me see how I can phrase this. Believing that one side is better than the other is rational. It's reasonable. Hell, I do. But when you take that extra leap to say, not only are we better than those guys, do we do it better, or are we just better overall than these guys? But those guys are evil. The people who are supporting those guys are supporting evil. I think we get into really weird territory, really dangerous territory. I don't like it. And I think that it's part of what's leading to increased polarization and the atomization of American culture. Really bad. Yeah, that's why it says one side is much worse than the other, quote unquote. And that side is always the one I disagreed with anyways. What a coincidence. You have to understand, people value different things. People have different things that they care about. For better or worse, there are some people who think that, I'll use Trump as an example. Okay. They don't like what he did on January 6th. They don't like it at all. But they think, and I think they're wrong, but they believe that by voting for Trump, they'll be better off economically. It's the economy, stupid. They think that they're suffering and they think that they need a change and Trump will be better. Is that evil? I don't think it is. I don't think it's evil at all. I don't think wanting a better life is evil. I don't think wanting to try to vote for your economic interests is evil. Again, Trump's a lot, and I don't think he is going to lead to a better economic life for any of these people, honestly, unless you're filthy rich. But you being wrong on this doesn't make you evil. It makes you wrong. Do we understand the difference, kings and queens? $5 from Ryzius to say, let's play a game. Focus people in this community, Hutch, Pondering, and Pisco, and compare it to Gibbs, Rob, and Lactoid, which often say lies unless compassionate. Look. Gibbs, Rob, Hutch, Pondering, and Pisco, and Lactoid. I don't know. They're all pretty partisan. Lactoid's out of all those listed, Lactoid's the least likely to be partisan, but Lactoid's still pretty partisan. Okay. But that's okay. Gang, guess what? I'm partisan. Did you guys know that? I have partisan political beliefs that I push for and I want to see achieved and happen. Did you guys know? The difference between me and those people listed, I think, except for maybe Lactoid, is I'm willing to admit when my side has it wrong, right? Like, okay, my side was bad on this, right? Am I unbiased? No, I'm not unbiased. I am very biased. I'm a partisan political actor. Yes, that's true. But I recognize I'm a partisan political actor, and I recognize that, maybe on certain issues, I might be wrong. So I'm willing to let's hear out the other side. Let's hear their arguments. Let's see what they have to say. And if I'm wrong, I'll change my mind. Wick is, Testy Johnson says, Wick is part of the deep state. Yeah, maybe. I don't get paid enough to be part of the fucking deep state, gang. Okay. 200 bits from Feder Methodist. You, partisan? Funny. You don't look part. Good joke. I love Pondering Politics. He's a great guy. I like Hutch. I like Pisco. I'm friends with Lactoid and Gibbs. And Rob's okay. Right? But if you think that any of these people are unbiased, you're living in La La Land. Of course they're biased. Of course they are. No shit. This is another cope that I have, ladies and gentlemen, okay? This is another way I cope. Okay? And I recognize it's a cope. It's super cope. Sometimes I'm like, man, because I compare myself a little to Pondering Politics. I was bigger than Pondering Politics for a while. I was growing faster. I was doing better. My numbers were just better overall. But then Pondering blew up. He blew up. And he's gone from having a couple thousand subs to having like what, 400,000, and getting huge amounts of ad revenue and all this. He's great. Good for him. But one of the reasons, and again, Cope, I recognize it's Cope. Yeah, you don't have to tell me. Okay. One of the reasons is because I'm not a warrior like he is. There are soldiers and scouts. So there was a book written called The Scout Mindset, okay? And it talks about how there are some people who treat ideas like a soldier would. They go out and they defend their ideas, and they attack other ideas. This is my idea. I'm defending it. And this is their idea. I'm attacking it. I'm going to poke holes in it with my sword, right? Or I'm going to use a shield to stop them from doing the same with my ideas, okay? Pondering politics, Josiah, he's a soldier. We need soldiers. Nothing wrong with soldiers. I'm a scout, okay? I'm a scout. Scout doesn't try to poke holes in ideas, right? Not as much. They're trying to understand. They're trying to figure out what is the idea. How does it apply? Why are we applying it like this? What are we doing? Again, everyone's a mixture to varying degrees, right? But for me, I try to have a more scout mindset on things. To be like, what is this idea? What is being pushed? What are they trying to say? Is it correct? Why is it correct? Or why is it incorrect? Or most likely, in what ways is it correct? In what ways is it incorrect? And going from there, right? Would that the world had more scouts. But scouts don't make money. Scouts don't get views, right? There are exceptions, obviously. Soldiers get recruited. Soldiers lead armies, okay? Scouts operate independently. I'm stretching this analogy, I know. Scouts operate independently, right? There's not a lot of them. They don't have a big following. They just kind of go and they look. They see. They try to understand. So I've come to terms with it because I could, if I wanted to, ladies and gentlemen, if I wanted to, I could absolutely be a soldier. Yeah. You stake a position, you take a side, fight like hell. And I do have positions. Not to say I don't. There are things I believe in. There's things I'll fight for. There are ideas I really hold. But in general, I try to have a more scout mindset for things. In general. If you guys want to see Soldier Wick, there's an example of Soldier Wick out there. When I went on CuteBot, and it was just for kind of a contest to see who would win type of deal on ideas, I went full soldier mode because soldier mode wins. Soldier mode wins wars, and that was a contest. It was a war, and I just swept the board, okay? I'm very good at soldier mode. I just don't find it as entertaining to me, personally. Toog says, you just gave Shih Tzu about to attack vibes. You mean Sun Tzu, I hope? Rizia says, partisan bias is fine. That isn't the issue. At the bare minimum, the left side doesn't use inflammatory rhetoric in comparison. What do you mean by that? Because I've heard some... Look, depending on who I listen to, I'm hearing fucking inflammatory rhetoric from both fucking sides. If you listen to the left, right? If you listen to the left, Trump is going to take away all your rights. There will never be another free and fair election. If Trump gets elected, Trump will destroy the Constitution. Trump is already set up to be immune politically to anything thrown at him. There is no hope. If we don't win this election, America will be destroyed. You listen to the right, you listen to Rob, you listen to Gibbs, right? Elon Musk put out a video today with Tucker Carlson, of all people, right? How saying that if Kamala wins, that'll be the last election that America ever has, the last free and fair election, that Kamala will round up her political opponents and throw them in jail, that Kamala will confiscate everyone's guns, take away the First Amendment, blah, 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 blah. the funny thing is, and it's not funny, haha. It's not funny, haha, to be clear. This is a self-fulfilling prophecy in a lot of ways when you say things like this. Because what the other side hears is, oh, we're fighting an existential war. And when you tell people that there is an existential war, they will start behaving like it. They will start behaving like that. And it does make a far more unstable country when you have a good portion of the population that believes that if it loses the next election, that's it. We're done. Folks, I believe in America. I believe America is strong. And while, yes, I think Trump is a danger to democracy, absolutely, I don't think he's going to be able to destroy it. I think America is stronger than that. I think our institutions are stronger than that. I think that we will survive whatever stupid ass leader we have. Okay? And to be clear, I think Trump will be bad for America. He will hurt America, but I don't think he'll destroy it. I think we'll be worse off if he gets elected. Yeah. But he won't destroy it. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Nair Socks says this. CNN had someone on saying Trump was going to execute minorities and that he praises Hitler. They absolutely have had bad rhetoric too. Yes. Rizia says, I feel like Hutch and Co. are much more temperate compared to Rob and Co. So Lactoid, I think, is much more temperate than that group. But you're right. Gibbs is probably more... Gibbs... Look, if we were going to rank people on how crazy their rhetoric is. You guys want to do that real quick? Would that be a fun game? You guys want to play? Okay, we're gonna start. We're gonna start with a poll in the YouTube chat. I'll put one. Can one of my mods actually put one up on the Twitch chat too? Let me make a poll. Start a poll. Whose rhetoric is more extreme? Is that a good question? More apocalyptic? Is that better? Oh man, I don't know what's with my computer today. It's very slow. I'm trying to type this poll, but it's very slow. Whose rhetoric is more extreme? Hutch, pondering, Pisco. Oh no, it's doing the thing again where I have to reload my little OBS thing. Give me a second. Oh, now it's better since I refreshed it. But why is it giving me a problem? Whose rhetoric is more extreme? And we will put in Hutch, pondering, Pisco versus Gibbs, Lactoid, Rob, Nor. I'll start the poll. You guys can check it out. Kinetic Paw says, ask PV for a new PC. They don't pay me that much. Okay, I made the poll. Oh, Tessie Johnson wants a different poll. Fuck, marry, kill, Lactoid, Gibbs, and Hutch. Well, that's a different poll for a different time. So yeah, here you go on we got a poll right now up. Whose rhetoric is more extreme? Hutch, Pisco, and Pondering versus Gibbs, Lactoid, and Rob Nor. Vote in the poll on YouTube. Check it out. Right. And remember, while you're voting, okay, if you're pressing buttons, remember to like the stream, okay? Remember to subscribe. That would really help the channel out. And hey, if you got a few bucks and you want to throw some at me for Twitch subs or gift subs or something, or you want to throw some super chats at me, wouldn't say no. Okay. I got I got a hobby I'm picking up right now, and it's gonna hurt my wallet. Oh, gang. In other news, right? While you guys are voting in the poll, in other news, I just beat my third playthrough and my first after the DLC. So Rogue Trader, Warhammer 40K CRPG. They had a DLC come out. It was really good. Added a lot to the game. Added Gene Stealers, right? Added Death Cultists. It was really fun. I beat that. And I just got to tell you, there came a point, and this is in Act 3. I got an item. I got a single item that trivialized all the encounters afterwards. I got a single item. And the problem with the game, because I was playing on Iron Man mode, right? I was playing on unfair difficulty. It almost wants you to break the system. It wants you to have builds that break how the game works. And otherwise, if you try to play it straight, you just won't win on unfair mode, right? You'll really struggle. So I wish they could balance it a little better, because I wanted the achievement for beating the game on Iron Man. They call it Grim Darkness mode, right? So of course, once I found out this, this interaction, and to be clear, it was this item that every time a Psyker casted a spell, if your ally had this item, it would do damage to all the enemies on the map in the encounter. Doesn't matter if you had line of sight. Doesn't matter how far away they were. Every enemy in that counter would take resolve damage every time you casted a spell. So what I did was I built my Psyker to just cast as many low-level spells as possible. So he would be, in a turn, casting 10 spells. And then he would get an extra turn from the officer, casted 10 fucking more spells. Okay? And based on resolve, so I had resolve boosting items and things going out. It was a cycle. So turn 1, I'm killing almost every single encounter, right? Any counter that didn't have a mechanic that interrupted your turn, which a few do, would just be trivialized, because I would simply just keep casting spells and the resolve would keep going up. So every executive cast, or not, man, my words here. Every cast in a row, it kept going up. Consecutive, that's a word. Consecutive cast just got up and up and up, more and more damage. So I would be doing like 1,000 damage a cast on the second turn. But $10 from Erica Chenault. Military in Italy was paying $9 during the pandemic, now paying around $6. Can we say that no matter who was in charge, inflation would have happened? But did Trump deal with OPEC have made it worse? Maybe. We're going to have Econo Boy on this week. He's going to be debating Joe Lewis, and that'll be fun. The topic, and this is on Thursday, gang. The topic will be, is there any difference between Republicans and Democrats? Joe Lewis says not any discernible difference. They govern the same. Econo Boy disagrees. Should be a fun debate. And gang, I've been really struggling with topics that you guys want to hear. I've been trying to think, does anyone have big views on the draft? I almost want to do a draft topic again. Didn't he debate Destiny? Joe Lewis? At some point, yeah, I think so. Yeah. Let me see. We're kind of running on empty here. Any other topics you guys want to see for the week? We're probably going to have a call-in show, maybe Wednesday, maybe Tuesday, depending on how I feel. We have, again, the topic lined up for Thursday, and I'm going to try to get another debate lined up for you guys Friday, a panel debate or something. So if you guys have ideas for topics, or if you want on the show, reach out, join my Discord, check me out. It'll be fun. If you guys want to argue with me on my takes on both sides are human, so should be treated as such, feel free, DM me, challenge me, call in during my call-in shows. All that's great. We're probably going to call it quits for today. Oh, Jenny Burns versus 20 incels? If you want, I can find them. Or a dime a dozen. Who's streaming right now? When the call-in show will be? It'll be probably either tomorrow or Wednesday, depending on how I feel, honestly. Let's see. Do you guys want to raid into I'm Really Important? I want to raid into I'm Really Important. Let them know it's a hate raid. Okay? Got some great things going on. And I'll see you guys, if not tomorrow, then Wednesday. And I'll definitely see you on Thursday. I love you all. Bye-bye. Give it a second. Man, 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds. Gosh, we're waiting to raid. La, la, la. Okay, raid now.